beginning, there was only one person, one soul, who tasted from the tree of knowledge, and he started feeling shame. Then, who was Eve? If there was only Adam, who was Eve? We have to understand that the Torah is not written literally. Okay, then tell us, what is not literal here? It talks about a spiritual system, not about a worldly system. In this world, we developed, as we did from the Rishimot, from our genes, we developed like the still vegetative, animate, and speaking developed normally. But Adam is not a person in our world. Adam is a special system that's affecting us, all of us together, containing all the souls. And then it affects each and every one of us out of the collection of souls, and affects us, each and every soul, separately. And that system was first created by the male giving force, and then in it appeared the female force, the receiving force, besides the giving force. And then it turns out that in our words, as Kabbalists write, in the language of the branches, it turns out Eve came out of Adam. So two forces started working since then. The male force and the female force, the force of reception and the force of bestowal. And these two forces, in decline to this corporate world, built natural systems here. Still vegetative, animate, and speaking. And in every level you have the corporal force too. A male force and female force, corporal ones. But these are forces. On these forces you have a dressing, which is our substance. A corporal substance? The corporal substance, even in atoms we see protons and electrons. One is plus, one is minus. One is male, one is female. In plants, in anything that moves, anything that exists in itself. And opposite that you have a different force. It's always about plus and minus, reception and bestowal. It's always some kind of forces affecting each other that come from those two roots, male and female, Adam and Eve, the original spiritual ones. What did Eve do? It says she seduced him, she made him sin. Eve and the serpent and this whole process is just an increasing of the will to receive within that system called Adam. Why is it? What's wrong with it? Well, it's fine. Without it, we wouldn't exist in the world. We wouldn't be able to correct ourselves and achieve the world in itself. So it's good. But with respect to that spiritual state, it's a decline. That's what's called a sin. But this has nothing to do with the sins we think of in our world. The sin is in that this system had to disclose this force of sin. It did, but the disclosure itself, in our language, is called a sin. Perhaps not everyone will understand what we just talked about. Can you explain that in simple words? You said in the beginning, well, you said that Torah is not literal. Well, let's take a child. It does something. And I see that it's doing it incorrectly. In the end, it doesn't understand how to do it correctly. So I deliberately turn things around so he will fall and break and even be harmed a little bit, to disclose what's wrong. So he will discover himself, and then he'll know how to correct it. And he'll be smarter, more developed. That's how we learn. What do we do with children? We constantly give them exercises, well, challenges, okay, call it challenges. Put this together, do this, do that, build that, understand that, answer that. We always do that, and then we increase the difficulty level. What are we doing? We're showing them false things they seemingly don't know, seemingly can, seemingly don't understand, and they need to overcome it. What does it come from? From the breaking of Adam HaRishon, from the sin. When he fell, everything he has appeared. In other words, his disconnection from the upper force, from the Creator. So through connecting the gap that appeared, the sin of the tree of knowledge, if he corrects that, he'll return to being in a perfect state. Still, I'd like to ask of you to explain, what did the woman do? She showed the ego in Adam, which was not revealed before. She exposed a greater ego in him? Yes. She exposed a greater ego? Yes. Previously it was inside Adam, but he didn't feel it. So this ego came out of him. That's Eve that seemingly came out of him. Again, we're talking about systems. It's an allegory. You're talking about an allegory, right? Yes. And this ego that came out, it still wasn't felt. It had to go through certain acts in order to appear in the full strength of its evil, so a person would know this evil. So it would be the recognition of evil. And the series of these actions that happened in him to know the ego are called the sin of the tree of knowledge. And at the end of the process, there was our world. At the end of this process, there was not our world, but worlds of sanctity and purity, one opposite the other, and Adam's soul that's in between them, and is governed by these two systems of purity and sanctity, and impurity and sanctity. And as a result, our world was created. With these results, the male part, the female part, what we need to do.